Hi everyone. So before we start getting into it, I'm Shakti. I've been with Tiger for some time now. My whole history has been problem solving, building solution systems for quite a bit of time right now. And I've seen, and I'm here to basically discuss with you guys what we've learned when we are trying to go from, say, a POC or a prototype of any ML solution to a working production model that is basically serving multiple tiers of people, right? That's exactly what I'm doing, and I'm open to critics, open to suggestions. Let's get into it. We start by I try to define what I mean by custom ML solutions as a platform, right? Then we'll, how I define it personally is it's a well-developed machine learning system, right? That's targeting a specific use case, a highly specific use case, right? But then it also needs to be flexible architecture, easy to integrate, customization, scalability, all sorts of things. But then you also need to look at, okay, does it have, as a platform, if you're looking at it as a platform, you would want to look at, does it provide my users with, say, some pre-built ML components that they can leverage, reduce their time? Does it engage my downstream, upstream, supporting users, marketeers, stakeholders, right? How does it help them out? How does this solution as a platform help them out? And how does it, solve very specific questions or pain points that we face otherwise? Why and where we think it is critical? They're interrelated, right? Why and where, in this case, are very interrelated. As I said, we'll start with this highly specified use case, right? My specific use case would be, say, for a life sciences company, but then there we need a lot of data control and privacy required, a lot of tailored functionality to be built in to satisfy A, B, C components from our stakeholders. What else? Something that's deployed across a large scale, right? I have got 5,000 stores. I am doing demand forecasting across at a granular level. How does it scale up? How does it, it's across multiple brands, multiple locations, multiple markets, multiple brands. How does this scale up? And how does that integrate into my own intelligence that I have, right? Highly scalable, I need the performance is required there. So that's one, right? That's, again, there you need to have very fine-tuned model deployment strategies, model monitoring and maintenance strategies, and those come into picture, right? Another use case is where you have a lot of regulatory needs, right? Where you need to be constantly being to be reported, say, an insurance domain, in underwriting cases where you need constant reporting of what needs to happen. Even life sciences, you have data privacy issues there, right? So these are the cases where we see it, a custom ML solution, especially as a platform, is very critical, right? Now, some key components. The key components start off being simple, right? Any system is going to have your ingestion, it's going to have your model deployment, it's going to have deployment and scaling, monitoring, maintenance, adoption, how many people adopt, how they adopt it, how fast platform is getting adopted across your organization, how do you integrate, right? But then it becomes nuanced when you dig into each use case. There are different types of use cases that are present, and you have to address them individually differently, right? Let's see how that works. I've got 3 use cases here, and each of these use cases are in varying levels of what we've done. Some, 1 or 2, has been almost done, and we are continuously improving it. Some of them are being disrupted with new, LLM functionalities, features coming in. How are we adapting to it? Some of them, one of it is going to be basically with LLM. So I'll walk you through all three. We'll go over them, right? Most of us would have done an MMX solution at some point in our life, right? It's been there for a very long time. There's nothing new there. We would have done a POC, brilliant. We've done for one market, one brand, brilliant. We've got a team of data scientists who do it for each quarter. It's ready. There's this whole hullabaloo happens that every time a quarter comes in, we get prepared for it, we present it, we do a lot of things there, and then go back, right? So the core of it, the intelligence is very mature. It doesn't change much. But that isn't in itself a platform, right? Let's say you build beautiful Pythonic classes, right? It's automated. It's available across your data scientists. They're able to generate real-time things there, right? But then there's other issues cropping up. We'll talk about them. So that code doesn't change. But what makes it, in this case, what makes it is a platform. Data. One major issue was data here, right? They were dependent on a lot of vendor data coming in at varying granularities, at varying frequencies. And every time you sit down, validate data, before you start your model, you spend 2 weeks there. And that was also a bottleneck for them to start thinking of how do I come together as a platform to solve this. So obviously we come in with a flexible schema. Again, a data profiling, analytic system. Now, again here, right, the techniques that we use to do any of this, right, a flexible schema matching or a data alerting or a profiling system varies, will change. We'll have to take into account, and that's been done, right? Some of it, we see how do we bring in our traditional, we have already used traditional ML techniques. Now how do we bring in my agents here? That's something we can discuss. Okay, that's a key issue that's stopping you building things. What's next? I need to be able to provide my users with confidence, right? When I say my stakeholders, with my budgeters, my marketers with confidence in what I'm showing, I need to have insights that give that. So they should be able to integrate, play around with what I'm showing. They want to interact with the data and the insights itself, see what insights is being backed by what data. They need, to be able to basically publish it, right? Publish it within their team to see how what their insight was. So that needs to be provided, right? That's insights and confidence. Here again, right? The basic use case of query to text. People start off with that. Anytime any LLM person aspirant will start off with that, but then it's highly complex. We see how that is being integrated into this, right? Obviously, adoption and scalability, right? You build it out, but it's not to be used by one particular set of data scientists or one business stakeholder. It's going to be used across market, needs to be scaled across multiple products. In this case, it's going to be different products across different markets, right? And these data within these markets needs to be siloed because of the nature of the data in itself, right? You need market-specific architecture in its place as well, right? You cannot just use US storage to cloud to a non-US data, right? Or vice versa. That doesn't happen. You also need to provide access based on user tiers, right? A marketeer does not need access to your final optimized results or budget results. Your business users do not need to look at varying parameters of how your model was built. Your data scientist obviously will have the full range of data, but you get the idea, right? Multiple different tiered users utilize the platform differently, and we need to give them access differently. So this, in a whole, together, if it comes together, it's a large-scale team working to build out a highly available point of a platform that is basically catering to multiple users to solve this one small, I shouldn't call it small, one well-known problem, right? So this is what we call as a platform. This is the scale of the platform right now. And what we saw was, what helped us here was a highly integrated team. When I say integrated team, what do I mean is, like, obviously, your design team, your testers, your AI engineers, your managers, your consultants coming together, right? That's integrated team, right? But what does integrated team here mean, right? They do not operate in silos. They are basically merged, right? One, it's not like a unicorn, like we have one, synergetic team, right? The teams have their own silos again, but the shared knowledge, shared goals that are revisited regularly, right? That's what we mean by integrated team here, right? Even how we operate, right? Let's say Scrum, principles of Scrum, right? Highly controversial one. How do we operate there? That in itself needs to have an integration, right? From that, on top of specialists, you need some general knowledge, right? Generalist present who help things out. Product roadmap. It's nothing new there, but what exactly is special here, right? You have this long-term vision, 6 weeks, 6 months, 1 year, 2 year down the line. What do we need out of my product? What is my feature roadmap? But that changes. That changes almost ridiculously fast. That needs to be addressed in line with your technical debt that you're incurring, right? When you're trying to push to a milestone, right? When you're trying to push to a milestone, you incur technical debt. How does that is being addressed, right? That understanding and transparency needs to be present, not just your team, but but of our stakeholders as well, right? And how do you simplify that, and how do you make sure a change that looks very simple breaks your system, right? We call that faulty architecture, right? A change that looks simple needs to be simple, right? That's one thing, right? Adoption strategy. How quick you would want, the success of a platform depends on how many people adopt it, how quickly they adopt it, or what's the scale of it, right? So we need to have a proper strategy in place with your shareholders to get this out. Now, this played a key role in the success of the platform, right, for us. Monitoring and feedback is obviously, right, it rolls into all three. I'll not talk more about that, right? So now, this was our MMX solution as a platform. I have some architecture that basically calls out some key components, what we did, and how we expect this to change as well, right? You have this front-facing interface that people basically look into. You have your data lakes, you have your RDS for your transactional data, you have your buckets. You've got your project manager instance where it basically scales up based on users. You've got your control flow and control routers across your backend that basically manages, okay, where, what needs to run. Is it a EDA? Is it a model run, right? And then the rest is very explanatory, right? You have your authentication that happens, data authentication that happens in data access layer. You have your response curve optimizer that happens here, right? This is an architecture that we have. Moving on, right? This is a different type of platform we built here, right? This is a demand forecasting problem, wherein we have this fast food retailer who wanted to estimate or forecast, acquired a bit of highly granular information as part of their stores. So it is a mature place again. You have going into it, you have their own teams having enough iterations, enough models, right, that they have done, right? But then how do you improve it? How do you bring up a system that is going to slowly improve your model performance? How is it going to slowly, how do we navigate the challenges that you're going to come across it? And how does the end result look like, right? It was a very iterative, thing that happened here. The key thing was, how did we get the tribal knowledge that was present? How did we bring it into the system as a predictive power? And how we were able to, convert it into a feature or a model or a rule set that flowed into their system cohesively, right? They have their own, the clients here had their own knowledge center. They had their own internal tool that basically my head of operations is going to look at with my GMs. At a week level, we had these discussions of, okay, what needs to improve, what is the thing that is going to be very key here, what is the one particular rule that is helping the general managers, estimate better than your model, right? That is brought in, and you looked at, okay, how I can bring this data as a streamlined pipeline that basically runs every week, right? And it predicts forward, like say, 10 weeks, right? For the next 10 weeks or the next quarter, right? How does it do that, right? That was key here, right? But that, as part of the system, right? So you start with the basic pipeline, or I shouldn't call it basic, a minimum pipeline, and then you look into, it's productionized. The reports are being generated, right? From the model deployment, you get your reports being generated. Those reports are looked at weekly, right? You have this brainstorming session that's looked at weekly. That's very, very manual. But then that comes in as experimentation. So within the next couple of weeks, you come back in saying that, okay, this is what we have found out, this is what we were able to solve. And there were quite a lot of it, right? There were quite a lot of it. But what happened was, as we started doing it, this tailed down. We naturally saw this effort that went into bringing the tribal knowledge in tailed down, and we were able to give them a solution that was a combination of different techniques, a combination of different knowledge sources, a combination of pulling in the right data, evaluating it without overhead, right? And then, it gave them this improvement at the places that they wanted to actually see, right? For example, stores around universities, right? There's a rush when there's this delay when schools close down, or some live event happens, there's a peak or something like that, right? And similarly, when stores perform during holidays, right? These are basic things, but how did we automate it in, right? There's this key knowledge that they have, right? Okay, no, my lunch is going to be less than my dinner, right? That kind of knowledge is going to come in, and how do we quantify it? And that's something we did here. This is a system that has evolved. It is a very mature place right now. But the question right now was, okay, how do I bring in my, leverage LLM bots here, and what is something we can do to bring in the power of LLM, right? That's something we are discussing, we are proposing, and it's a continuous improvement that we are doing here, right? Especially in places where we think, okay, I do not show my data, but can I look at my drift? Can I look at my reports, and will I be able to give some, ease of use, right? Further familiarize my stakeholders, my users in a different way, right? How can I engage them in a different way? That's one question we're trying to answer. And cool. So this again is a high-level architecture that's present there. All data ingestions happen in GCP, and this is a Vertex AI pipeline that was scheduled. Humongous amounts of information were passing through them at a weekly level. The runs were at weekly level. And these were monitored using BA dashboards, right? And then you've got your service now integrated as well. You've got their in-house system integrated as well. So that helped, the stakeholders, of my operations head to basically say, okay, now I've got enough confidence in my model that I do not have to sit down every week to hash out or fight with my GMs, right? It gave my business user stakeholders see a consistent improvement in my performance of the models themselves, and they started concentrating or spending the energy on much better or different streams, right? It freed up a lot of effort, and they were it was highly received. Again, right, this is one particular architectural system design pattern that we have. Again, this is what we saw worked very well for us, and it's something we can, again, right, hash out during or after the call. Now, LLMs applications, right? There's a lot of LLM applications, based applications that have been being built out right now. But let me pull it right. Let's say I have my product sentiment analysis, right? Look into my product reviews, try to identify sentiment analysis, right? How do I do that? my inventory management, inventory queries, how do I do it? Can I look at something like sales, right? Sales versus my spend. How do I engage it in a different manner, right? These are some questions. These are some of those use cases this particular client had. But there was one other question that was present, right? This is going to be ever-changing. This LLM application development is going to be ever-changing. What are some of the key components that needs to be uniform across my company? How do I enforce, security? How do I make sure there's this proper monitoring? How do I ensure my developers have the latest that is being tested, the latest that is being, comparative to how do I improve my versions, right? How do I do that? And the solution was, okay, how do you think LLM application as a platform? So at my organization, if I have a platform that can provide each of this pre-built in a low-code interface, right? And I can switch between vendors for my foundation models. I can switch between where I store my, where I take my compute, right? I can switch between what kind of guardrails I want to put in and not put in, right? And I can switch between what data needs to be part of my knowledge and what need not, right? And how do all my teams know what is the better way to index my this particular data? What is the better way to organize this particular data? How do I let all individual teams build up on their own? The answer was what we've built here, right? This is where we're trying to get at, right? Let's break each of these down. LLM models, right? I remember when we started up initially, we started having LLM keys, right? For each of the developers will have the access to LLM keys within them, right? Obviously they were not exposing to the data, but it's still a security concern to have LLM keys floating around, right? Security is floating around within your developer team. So the answer was LLM gateways, right? You set up an LLM gateway for your organization wherein you authenticate and enable users with tokens, and they just need to provide the name of the LLM that they're going to hit, which is part of your ecosystem, and they would be able to just address it. They should be able to connect it via the gateway. So any foundation model, any fine-tuned model that comes in will be part of the LLM gateway, and that's something that users can get authorized parallelly, right? There's a user authentication and tokenization functionality available, right? That's a web app that does that. Now, once they have that, I say they want to look at product sentiment analysis, right? They want to look at, okay, how is the sentiment changing on my reviews? Is it, that's something they want to look at. So, and what do they need for it? What is the agent they have to build for it, right? And do they have to brainstorm it? Do they have to code everything from the front? We do not want them to. So that's where we say we've given them use case patterns, right? That's pre-built set of packages that tell you, okay, how do I set up a RAG, an agentic RAG, or a graph RAG? How do I do routing between my requests? How do I basically have my agentic framework set up as well, right? The pre-built, and you can keep adding to it as your raw capability. On top of it, you'll also start adding use case specific capabilities there, right? So, so when a user comes in, they're able to access to the models, but they also know how they want to build their bots, right? The agents themselves. How am I going to build that? Then comes my API, right? My data access. How do I get my access to my data, and how do I set it up? How do I index it? How do I navigate it? And again, right, so for data access was to be via an API again here, right? So say I have my sales data, I have my product review data, then I have an endpoint that basically tells them you're able to hit an endpoint and get this information for your agents, right? For your particular agent, right? So the agent would be able to get information from there. Now, what does this API mean, right? It's not like real-time streaming of data. Rather, you would have your knowledge base set up, right? That's where the knowledge comes in, right? So you'll have your GraphDB set up, your VectorDB indexing happening, right? So you'll have your best practices for your company for the type of data that is available. The developers would basically opt in for what they would want to do on what data set, and it basically gets done in the back end, right? And they can just look at it, change it. There's enough flexibility for people to change it and adapt to it. Orchestration and infrastructure, right? The cost of doing GenAI is something we are all, productionizing GenAI applications is something, I think all through the morning we have seen various, suggestions and things to do, right? We see that's a pain point. Right? That's one of the pain points, right? Performance as well as monetary cost. So that is something we establish again, right? So you, at a company level, you know what's the infrastructure limit that is being set for each particular platform, each particular bot that is being built out, what's the rate limit you want to set up, and how it is going to be orchestrated, right? What is the easiest way for the particular organization to orchestrate, right? That's something that particular modules take care of. Perfect. I've got my setup. I've got my models set up. I've got my data set up. I've got my bots running. I'm trying to test it. But is this enough? Obviously, no. We want to add security and monitoring, right? Let's talk about security first. Security, in the sense, it's leakage, avoiding leakage of PII. What else? You need IO guardrails. IO guardrails in front of, okay, should I, they need to be embedded based. You need your Ragas, you need your Azure AIs, embedded based, Arise AIs, embedded based guardrails. You need to look at fairness. You need to look at regulatory constraints, language, right? Sorry, I forgot about that. So regulatory constraints, various other things that they're present, right? So that's security, right? And obviously you want to log anything that happens, and you want to look at that, and that's again defined in what's the better way for the company, and that is uniform across the multiple groups that are engaging, and that's something that's happening, right? All of us have this new toy that we want to play around with, and we do different things across the organization. But at an organization level, we want that they want it to be a better streamlined approach in how that needs to happen. Monitoring. Now, this one important thing here that we call it continuous evaluation, right? Okay, so this particular continuous evaluation means, say I have built a new bot, new agent that I have come up with. How do I build use cases for it, right? Say I have got my 5 products in place first. As for my review, then I add 10 more products across multiple regions. How do I monitor, right? There's this auto regression that takes place, right? You have your judge LLM, and how do you engage your judge LLM that is set up, right? Something similar to what Autorator, right? From Google's Autorator. Something similar to that. How does it scale up? That is something that we look at in monitoring. And then we've got a human oversight, absolutely required, a provision to look at a subsample of what's being done, and feedback needs to go into your dashboard that basically calls up to your governance, right? That's right now built out. This is one sample architecture that was built out of this particular as a platform. So you can see multiple components that were present in the previous slide being pulled in here. I think, this is exactly what I wanted to say, and I think I'll close off now. So we've seen 3 different places where use cases that are radically different in how we approach them to build out a platform, and how we see GenAI disrupting and enabling it. So this is exactly what I wanted to share. I'm open to questions right now.